Welcome back to Ryse, Son of Rome.
Oh
So,
my god,
yeah,
did you see his shirt clipping through his arm there?
And yeah, not much like the typical modern narrative-driven game, you have these collectibles that add extra detail to some aspects. The problem is, unfortunately, too, the collectibles in this game are not the best either.
I can imagine.
The information told to us in these collectibles tends to be some of it can be decent, but most of it is very expendable. Anyway, go ahead, Theo.
Oh, I have to read. How long ago it seems when my days were spent in the military. How tiring
You're
it
the
was
Italian
watching.
here, so try your best
Through
Italian
treacherous.
accent.
Surviving raging seas and dangerous lands where the risk of death was more imminent by terrain than the barbarians. Although it's difficult to forget the rush of chasing down an enemy. Will they escape? Will they turn on me and fight? Then at least a brief escape their mouth, carrying on to the next fight. Then again, until exhaustion set in. Those days are long over for me. I know this military life is one Marius will greet with pride, loyalty, and all other shit, the brutal strength.
Yeah,
Can
whatever.
I voice an Italian later on?
No, Taylor will voice all the stuff. He's actually Italian, so.
But no, another thing I noticed is that your percentage bar is indicated by the S.P.Q.R. insignia. Why?
Because, Taylor.
For the context, because you may have seen it if you read the Asterix comics or at least studied basic history, it is an abbreviation. In Latin it means Senatus Populusque Romanus. In English it roughly translates means that the Roman Senate and the people, in the sense of the Senate people of Rome are arriving to kick your ass, because it was put on banners and insignias of legions that went down to, kill barbarians and conquer their territories.
Oh
But
my.
why is representing the percentage here? It
Well, Taylor, my guess that was the intention, so that someone like you will appreciate the fact that
But that's the thing. It's a reference out of context, which is the equivalent of, I don't know, having a percentage bar in a British video game signed by a fucking teapot or a bowler
Yeah, you
hat.
can get points by breaking random pots.
I guess somebody liked Legends of Zelda.
It's kind of like in
But
Spider-Man.
Russians only get items from them.
It's kind of like in Spider-Man Shattered Dimension. It's fine, Spider-Man. That's what they do. I break pots.
Alright, so let's follow Leontios. Yeah, that's right. We actually learn our father's name. At the very least, we know his name.
Well, we had seen him already thanks to the health bar of the escort mission.
True, but that's like how one family member that we learned the name of. So.
Yeah.
Alright. So moving on, yeah, we're doing this again. Yeah, like I said, this is the primary thing too. It's the same shtick all over again. Yeah, I can never get tired of seeing this animation, do I?
I mean, if there was actual enemy variety or different approach, like Joel mentioned in the previous part, I actually wouldn't mind, because again, the Batman Arkham games, yes, they give you different gadgets and tools to use at disposal, but even if you try to go vanilla, the enemy variety accommodates to you. There's an enemy that uses a shocking baton, or someone who uses a shield, therefore you need to use a different approach with it, sacrifice a combo percentage, do a special attack to it. It allows strategizing, so even if you were stuck with just your simple Gladius and a shield, if the enemy variety was different enough to compensate this, I actually would have understood that better. But no, it's literally the same type of enemy with the same type of weapon, trying to do the same type of approach.
With the same type of look on top of it.
That too.
Yeah.
Like, let me give a comparison to another game that has a lot of repetition. The X crossover games made by Monolith, now Cross Capcom and the two Project Crosszone games, because they function with the. Oh.
Yeah, well,
Was that Liam O'Brien?
I don't know.
Let me check. Maybe it's on the additional voices, but whatever. In the meantime,
Another thing is, yeah, these sections like these. Let's just say, everybody, the roots of this game as a Connect-only game are still noticeable, because the area, the level design is linear hallway straight up, and there's no exploration whatsoever in this game.
yeah, I can see that.
And you can, and in a lot of ways, like, for example, I'm pretty sure that the primary reason why there's no traditional QTE button prompts is because, remember, you were supposed to use your hands to slash the sword.
Yeah.
Originally. So again, it becomes the design, the overly simplistic design, is most likely because of the Kinect. In the vanilla version of the game, you can only use the Kinect to do the voice commands, but at the same time, yeah, like they changed it. For the most part, they kind of just took away. They changed the Kinect inputs into button inputs, but did very little to change the gameplay. If this game started out its development as a normal game, then probably would have been a lot better. But no,
wait, Pedro. A game that, if it just started out as a normal game, but was held to the confines of what the Xbox One was shaping up to be. Where have I heard this before? Oh, by the way, Dad's dead.
No, it's another Dad.
No, that's another guy.
I know, but he looks a lot like Dad, don't you think? He literally has the same face in
Is that the
here.
problem with the reuse of the character models?
Exactly, Dwibs. You just took the words right out of my mouth, but yeah, there you go. But yeah, like I was saying though, Quantum Break. This is essentially got the same problem as Quantum Break. Do you remember how Quantum Break originally wanted to start off, being all about the Xbox One and the TV stuff, but then had to neuter itself after, it went on a different path?
When Microsoft backpedaled, yeah.
This is essentially like that.
Yeah, basically. It kind of comes across. Well, here's the thing. Back when the original Xbox One came out, Kinect was still obligatory with it, so technically they could have preserved. And I've checked into the development of this game, Jova. Apparently, the developers willingly chose to cut back on the Kinect. So apparently, it wasn't Microsoft who told them, from what I was able to research.
Probably fan backlash. Otherwise, it would have.
Very good too. Actually, that was the reason. Apparently.
Yeah. Otherwise, we would have gotten in a situation similar to what Layer on the PS3 and.
Gee, what a shock! People don't care for
Kinect. And now, when you get in a focus meter, which is a wet meter, you get focus mode. But this focus mode, you become fast as shit, and basically, the combat becomes even easier.
Oh, I think I saw this somewhere else.
So you see, Dwibs, all you have to do is focus, and you can be a super-powered soldier like me.
Trust me, Joe, it gets better. I haven't mentioned. First of all, let me answer Teo's question. Basically, Teo, the way the pylon works is your typical L2 to aim and R2 to fire, basically.
Okay.
It's your typical modern shooting controls. There's nothing that much to it. To capitalize on what Jova was saying, here's another thing. I haven't mentioned the other rewards. Notice the health regain bonus that I have right under my gauges. There you go, right there, health regain. Allow me to remind you, I can always, at any point during the game, use the D-pad to switch between 4 different rewards for every successful execution. Right now, we have health regain. You can also have more XP. Okay, gain more XP for each enemy defeated. We also get another one called Focus Regain, which means that every time you execute an enemy, you regain most of your focus gauge. So if you know what you're doing, if you make really good use of Health Regain and Focus Regain, you can basically constantly have access to not only full health, also there's the fat guy again, you can always keep your health maxed and your focus always relatively filled, so you can constantly use the focus mode over and over. So if you know how to use this game's mechanics, the game becomes a fucking cakewalk. Don't get me wrong, it's visually nice to look at and the moves do look good, but there's only so many times you can watch these animations before they get old. You know? This game is all flash and no substance. It really is. It's a cliche thing to say, I know, but it really boils down to that. It's all flash and no substance.
Honestly, to call it style over substance is one thing too, because, again, when it comes to style, you at least gotta keep the audience visually entertained too, to some extent, but even that wears old too.
Well, that's the thing, John. There is an extremely good basis onto this. They seem to have stopped at the basis.
Yeah, which is so jarring. Like, again, games way older than this, and also, that came out before this, were able to mix things up with more variety despite the limitations of their hardware, so I'm really baffled as to how
it's
this
a huge
game turned out this way.
It's a huge waste because this was the perfect time to have a game like this, where you center into ancient Rome with the same style of a traditional hack and slash, developing on their mythology. Because most of the Rome games have been most of the time RTSs. Because it made more sense, conquest and all. So instead, something more similar to this would have been an extremely, welcome novelty. but unfortunately they had to stick like this. And again, it reeks of the fact that this was like a first job for first time for Crytek.
Yeah, basically, for those who don't know, Crytek's primary credit before this game was making the CryEngine 3, which powered this game and other games like...
They were specialized in the Crisis series and RFPS or TPS, I forgot which of the two.
Yeah. This was their first major, big, new AAA IP in a long while.
The equivalent of Horizon Zero Dawn for Guerrilla when you get down to it.
Yeah, the big issue is that, again, the developers focused way too much on the style aspect. Like, because again, and I will say this again, just for the sake of crediting. Again, the graphics look beautiful. And the voice acting is great. The actors are definitely trying their best. The problem is the script doesn't allow them to be as great as they could be. And the execution animations and the overall technical direction of the game is really good. You'll see it more when we get to the cutscenes later on in this part. But the cutscenes are very well directed. They're very visually stimulating to look at. It's just that once again that really boring, dry script and the shallow gameplay. Like, the game gets everything right except the two things that matter the most: the story and the gameplay. And
it's like Crimes of Grindelwald. That film was directed pretty well. It was just
Ooh.
Yeah.
The problem was the script and the writing.
Honestly, that game has that movie has way more problems that I could even mention aside from that one. But we're not here to talk about that piece of garbage.
So, Dwibs, what do you think of the scenario so far? We're trying to avenge our loved ones.
It's a scenario that's...
Yeah. Remember, Jova.
Don't worry. I'm not gonna do the whole it's a scenario thing. I've done that enough times. But honestly, I've seen this kind of thing a million times before, and so far I've seen it done better. I mean, I'm not saying. I mean, in terms of like something involving the killing and or kidnapping of a family member, I don't think it's as bad as or as boring as say Getaway. But that's not saying much.
Also, the person who normally paints the ledges yellow in this case dropped some blue cloths on them.
Yeah,
that was very helpful of somebody to leave blue cloths here. Like, I can just imagine.
At some point, someone should actually make a game about that person. Someone who goes through time and dimension just to paint the yellow the ledges to help everyone else.
Oh, I could just imagine it. Sir, why are we leaving around blue cloths on ledges here or there?
Because I want to retrace my steps.
It's important, idiota. Now shut up.
Of course, whatever you say, General Smartus.
Tio, it's we're in the Roman times. You have to say it fully in Italian.
Actually, Dweebs, I forgot. Have you watched for better or worse, Dweebs, have you watched Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ?
No.
Don't.
Oh,
but for sake of authenticity, the Roman soldiers actually speak fluent Latin, and that will give credit where it's due. It's actually competent.
That is one thing about Mel Gibson. Despite him being a terrible person, I cannot deny he's a good film director.
But what I was saying before is that to compare the repetition of this with another game that has a lot of repetition in it, like say the first Project Ozone, because that too has as the fame of being unfortunately very repetitive. You don't have that many attacks with your units, and you fight. You stop having new enemy types from the waypoint through. I would still say that that game manages to have a more, the strong point of having the character interaction, being a crossover and all, and a bit more flashiness to it compared to this. But I still understand when it gets down to under repetition being a huge problem of this.
Yeah. Also remember, Jova, Good is already not a fan of that trope to begin with. So it's even worse when it's terribly executed like it is in this game. Sorry.
What trope?
Remember that whole start the story with the protagonists insert loved one here dying thing.
It's funny because in most recent times I've become more and more insensitive about the fridging of the characters more than I've been before. Don't know even why.
I think part of the reason is like, okay, while we may call it bridging, at some point there are a lot of times where the death of a character can be used
it is
well.
somewhat inevitable for some stories, you know. It does move a character potentially. It's just that I tend to see it done superficially or regardless. It needs to beg the question: when does a character that you want to kill stops being a character and becomes a tool?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it boils down to the. Sorry.
Well, mine. Honestly, I think if fridging is bad, then like 70% of all movies.
Well, yeah, that's what I was questioning before. It is inevitable, and somewhere or later, most of the stories will fit into this.
Okay.
That's my question. Where does the line get drawn in that case?
I think one thing to remember is context here. When Gail Simone coined the term women in refrigerators, it was back in a time when it was happening disproportionately to women in comics. Nowadays, while that can be a thing, occasionally it's thankfully not as big a thing as it was back then. So regarding context, we have to remember that, that was describing something that was more of an epidemic, where, okay, the thing was like, well, it was also stuff that was incredibly contrived stuff happening to
Wait, hold on. What was Marius doing? Oh, he was gathering...
Yeah, he was.
So, I think in terms of fridging here, let's look at certain examples here. We have stuff like, the death of the Winchester mother in Supernatural. That actually, you think will be fridging, but they actually expand a lot on the mother's character at points, which helps it be a lot more, shall we say, interesting, especially when her ghost actually comes back and protects them from a demon.
Well, I suppose, Joe, in that case, he's not completely free because the character is not completely gone.
An example.
You've seen Supernatural, Joe?
Oh yeah, I've been watching it on Netflix. It's a pretty good show, and it still manages to still be good. I love the crossover Scooby-Doo it
had. One example that I can think of is Shenmue. Where Shenmue starts with Ryo's father getting killed by a mysterious martial artist where we don't know who he is, and the entire story of the game is figuring out the mystery of why his father was killed. So it makes sense to have that be the beginning of the story, because the whole story is that we're solving this mystery, and then over the course of the story we find out more about our father and why he was killed and all that stuff. So it's all about the fact that the father had a hidden life that the son was not aware of. Therefore, the audience are also not aware of it at the beginning, and we find out along with the main character.
Exactly. Now for
go ahead, I'll continue later.
Getting back to this game though, to elaborate more on talk about the boring and bland script. I already talked about the gameplay plenty. See, okay, so what do we know about Mario so far? He has a dead mom and a dead sister, and that's pretty much all the development he's gonna get.
But Pedro, we know that he's gonna go on to be apparently Nero's #1 guy or something.
Well, we'll get back to that shortly. Marius has no personality whatsoever. Aside from being a generic patriotic legionnaire, it's like there's nothing to him at all, and the only real attempt at getting you engaged in him is the fact that he's on a revenge quest. But at the same time, that kind of thing can only work, again, if we actually get to know and trust me, this is not a case like in Shenmue where we're going to find out more about his family. That's what I was originally thinking when I first playing the game. Maybe we're going to see more of the family in flashbacks, but no, we never learn anything more about Marius and his family over the course of this game. And so we literally have zero reasons to care. Zero.
The closest story I can compare to this is actually Ben-Hur, but even then, Ben-Hur is incredibly fresh as a character. We know what his personality is, his intentions, his goal, his intentions of revenge, the family that he has, and he has been, deprived to. So there is more completeness into his. Marius is a blank slate. It's basically ultimate Captain America. Just someone with no real personality who's a violent dick against the different because imposes the state.
Hell,
it's literally Ultimate Captain America.
Hell, even Ultimate Captain America at least had certain moments like, of all storylines, Ultimatum, where he got to act more like Captain America.
In the underworld,
I'll admit, that was actually cool.
Don't you see, Jova? Like I've told you before about that issue, Jova. Being patriotic and loving your country is apparently lame now, I guess.
Yeah. Among other things that apparently are deemed broke.
Well, again, you won't find me a big fan of patriotism in general, but even then, I will say that you shouldn't ruin Captain America because of it.
Thank you. All I can say is thank you, Stephen McFeely and Christopher Marcus. Thank you a lot. That means a lot to me.
Where were we?
For those who don't know, the writers of the Captain America trilogy and the Infinity War duology. Yeah, this is still going, by the way.
And for the Dark World, but, well, not that I blame you for not mentioning that one.
I have to remind myself that they were behind what is considered one of the worst MCU movies. It's like every movie after that was them trying to redeem themselves.
I can tell you, Theo, that playing it rather than watching it is not that much more fun.
I can imagine that.
Oh look, it's the exact same fat guy again.
You know what this reminds me? Because launch title with similar mechanics like this and recycled enemy models. This is Heavenly Sword.
I've got a theory, actually.
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, what nation are the barbarians from?
I don't know.
Britain. We already established that.
Are you sure they're not like generic Celtics?
Maybe.
Well, the game calls them Britons, Theo. They specifically say Britons.
No, I got it. Maybe this is still during. Maybe the witches, pre the Dark Ages, made clones of these people.
Okay.
Now
he's dead for real. It's not just a lookalike of him who's dead.
Now this looks like something out of 300 minus the head getting cut off.
Father!
Don't pull the sword.
You idiot! We could have gotten you help!
You must save Rome.
Now you're gonna bleed out faster.
Well, to be fair, Theo, were there ways of him, even if he kept the sword in, were there ways of saving him at this point in ancient Rome?
Yes, patching up. Well,
in the middle of the battlefield, I'm not sure, considering each other city gets sacked.
Now he suddenly cares. He didn't seem to care much when the other two died.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe
hold on. Here's another. His new best friend. Is here about this?
Hello.
Commander Battalion of the 14th.
I'm trying to board here, you arsehole.
Hold on. This is gonna sound over this.
I fought with your father. Therefore, I'm the best one to be with you.
As much as you can handle. You were the second, aren't you? Yes, sir. Not anymore.
Whoa! I see the plot's on the move
to the
now.
club, kid.
The 14th lad.
Okay, I get it. Maybe it's to, simulate the battle of war and how, it can move like that. But am I the one who finds that scene went by a little too smoothly, considering how...
Oh, now we're back here.
I mean, the battle's not over yet.
Allow me. Listen, soldier, why are you telling me all of this exactly? We don't really have... We're kind of in trouble. I mean...
It'll be in my memoirs.
Well, you see, there is no way out of this.
Britannia. There you go. See, at this point, Britannia burns.
Well,
that makes no sense. The Britons never left their stinking island.
No, I got it, guys. Well, you see, sire, since we have absolutely no other way out of this room other than the way we just came through, and we are surrounded by barbarians, this is the only way we can pass the time.
Kinda.
Gas hasn't been invented yet.
Yeah, actually, you know what this reminds me instead? Considering this reminds me of another bad game, Homefront. Where, for some reason, North Korea manages to create a domino effect where it manages to invade and enslaves the entire United States in a few years.
What?
Yes, it is real.
Okay, North Korea, even if they did manage to,
they don't have the physical numbers to do so.
Yeah. Even if they did manage to make all those nuclear missiles, they're so technologically behind.
Really, like, we're doing a landing in. Sorry.
They're so technologically behind the US and almost everywhere else for that matter, that it would take the US just a few minutes to intercept the missile, and they'd crush North Korea in like 5 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, here's what. Okay, my guess is, Jova, what happened is, remember, he said Italian was a friend of his father, and since now, and so obviously out of respect of his father, he decides to take Marius under his wing and finish his training and you know, help him avenge his father, which most likely Vitan will also would love to avenge his father because they were friends.
Of course.
So,
Yeah.
so I can understand that decision on part of Italian.
No, that's not what should happen. Your armor is too heavy.
Okay, see, here's my issue with the scene, Pedro. It's like, well, my issue with the scene is like, well, it feels way too quick and moving.
That's rude.
Go ahead, Joe, what you were saying.
My issue with that scene was like, well, it feels almost comical with how it goes. It's like, oh, he's mourning. Oh, hi, I worked with your father. Now you will be with me. And whoop, scene over. Like, it feels a little too rushed. Like, okay, you know what Lion King had? Lion King had a good amount of time for Simba to grieve before Scar enters the picture. This felt like that, but without that nice pause here to, you know, help. Okay, I think the best way to describe it is that it doesn't give us, the audience, the opportunity to really grieve with him. It's
I guess he's ready to go, of course.
That's the thing, Jova. Like I've said, there's no flashbacks to the family or anything, so I can only assume that the game doesn't really want us to care about the family, even though it's literally the only motivation Marius has, really.
Oh.
Like, it's so weird.
Then what do we have to deal with narratively here? Oh, right,
See,
yes, his flashback.
Killing the Britons because they're bastards.
Actually-
Murdering bastards, as Marius put it.
Actually, I have a better headcanon belief that this is actually a post-apocalyptic game where civilization has started to form again, like in the old times. But because of a Brexit dilemma, the Britain has become increasingly savage and has started to invade the rest of Europe.
Of course, it all makes sense.
So basically, Tio, what you're saying is that all the protests outside Westminster, be they pro or anti-Brexit, got really out of hand.
Yes.
And the entire world decided, you know what? No, we're not getting involved in something this stupid and just left Italy to deal with it.
Well, that's because...
Oh, guys, apparently this guy... Blitz, why are there so many bearded fat guys in Britain?
Because, okay, bearded fat people, that's like a stereotype you'd see in a pub or something.
I'm serious, the Britons.
Does ye old England had a problem with cloning?
Yeah, I was about to say, did you guys like have like...
It's a side effect of in the far future, those technology will implement.
Don't you see, guys? Britain was the originator of the clone saga.
I know!
Oh my god. Oh my god, do you know how many years you put Spider-Man fans through with that Clone Saga?
Jova, to be fair, Marvel bought the rights to it from us for like 60 billion pounds. That's why they had so little money for all those years.
Yeah.
I'm actually wondering if Crytek spent all their budget on the graphics and the overall cutscene direction, stuff like that in the voice.
No, I doubt it. The Crysis games have all been praised by their excellent graphical design. It is unnatural for them.
So you're telling me, Dwibs, that essentially Marvel bought the rights for the events of the Clone Saga based off of the eugenics war that the British apparently...
Just as you would. Do you remember when Centurion Josephus ordered us to train the so-called pacified Britons in the use of Roman artillery?
Sorry, Teo, I just could not care.
But that's also weird. The trebuchet was invented way later.
That's the thing, Teo. That particular bit of lore, I guess, is irrelevant to...
Not just that, it's exactly like in Quantum Break.
Oh no.
No, I can't. Actually, Joe, I can tell you that this is not a Quantum Break scenario. The collectibles only give you extra information. They're not necessary to understand. Trust me, this plot is so bare bones. You don't even need to read to understand it.
Codolo system told you press B to dodge the arrow. This is your best option against the arrow.
Yeah.
Dodge roll. Hey Dwibs, the answer to everything is to dodge roll.
Again, the gameplay and story segregation also kind of takes me away. The fact that Marius had to swim with his heavy armor on. This is technically heavy metal armor on. until the shore, and then he was ready to go and about killing everyone else and dodge rolling like a rabbit.
So essentially, okay, so let me get this straight. So essentially, we have a game that doesn't respect proper physics, a game that doesn't respect proper history because it gets that wrong, a game that doesn't even respect, proper common sense. So a game that by all means should be crazy, wild, and awesome, but doesn't even take advantage of that, so it feels like it's trying to be realistic, when in all other cases it's not. What exactly do we have to work with here that's supposed to make this game fun?
For example, one of the reasons the Santa Monica discarded an armor or clothing prototype that they had for the character of Kratos for God of War was precisely for the reason to make him more agile even without considering his superhuman abilities. They thought logically about the character's appearance.
There he is again.
So essentially, what we have is a game where we have to suspend our suspension of disbelief, but not even for the sake of fun, just for the sake of accepting that things are going on. Like, at least it's a game where, fun like God of War, I'd understand.
In the background.
Oh my god, they are clones.
Clearly this is the developer's favorite nuke. I mean...
I actually do wonder if what Reeves was thinking, I think in the previous part, was right, and the reason Crytek didn't use the German barbarians but Britain ones is because they're a German team and they didn't want it.
Yeah, fun fact everybody, even though Crytek still owns Ryse 2, since they didn't make Ryse 2 right away, because apparently from what I've been able to research, Microsoft was willing to fund the sequel, however, only with the condition that they would own the IP, which Crytek refused. You can probably guess where things went from there.
And I know what some of you are thinking, but Squirm, you're talking about how this game isn't really all that in a bag of chips. Well, believe it or not, this game managed to garner quite a fan base, actually.
It did?
Well, apparently there were people asking for that sequel.
Okay, you're talking about that. Well, here's the thing. Yes, there were some Xbox fans that did like the game fine as they were, yes, but they're not like a... It's a very, 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 very small niche, Joe, I can assure you. It's nothing... It's not even that possible of an audience to cater to, I assure you.
Well, think about it, Pedro. Xbox wanted to, strengthen their brand. Giving fans of an Xbox One exclusive IP would have been a good way to bolster more of an audience of the Xbox One, now wouldn't it have?
I can see potential. I can see potential in this IP if they made the second game already with a controller in mind and expanded upon everything. I can see this turning into a good franchise. It's just that this game started off as an Xbox One exclusive, which already heavily diminished its chances of success. Combined with the fact that it's not very good, yeah.
The problem was also that Microsoft didn't strike when the iron was hot. Like, the moment people asked for a sequel, they should have, but then, of course, they had that little issue with Crytek.
Combined with the fact that Crytek's financial trouble eventually led to the fact that they've become a mobile developer, yeah, you can pretty much call this franchise dead.
Actually, their most recent game was on console and PC, I think.
Oh, was it?
What was it?
Hunt Shadow Showdown.
Was it one of those mobile games that gets ported to consoles, though?
Let's see.
Because that's sadly
they did only one for mobile called The Collectibles in 2014. Since 2016, they started making games for PC and consoles again.
What kind of games are there?
I don't know.
I'm guessing they're probably indie style games, most likely.
There is one VR game called The Climb.
VR.
There is another VR called Robinson the Journey, and there's this one that instead it's just a simple but it's called Hunt Showdown that just came out.
This game is also allowed to mention. Notice the survivors rescued meter in the top right corner. That's those instances where you can die not just from dying itself, but also from failing to rescue all survivors or from protecting your soldiers from whatever the health condition demands. Those are the only instances where I actually fail in this game. Combat itself, no, I have yet to die in combat, and I never will.
Well, it's like you say, you can constantly have the game either give you health back or give you focus.
Yeah, which makes it incredible. There you go. And when you're in focus, you're pretty much invincible. So there you go. Anyway, that's the thing about this game is that this game is the video game equivalent of Styrofoam. It has nothing to it. Like it's
yeah.
there's nothing. It's not like it's a piece of garbage. It doesn't smell bad. but it's just styrofoam. There's literally, it's just a piece of styrofoam. There's literally nothing that can be said about it. It's competently made.
I guess
There's
the
nothing
best thing
inherently bad about it.
Compare this to a Musou game, which has a standard, quote-unquote, easy combat, because against normal troops, it is designed where your troop is almost invincible and is made to slaughter the mooks and only have actual difficulties.
Hold on, Theo. I'm gonna have to interrupt you because this is gonna be hilarious. Basically, I'm supposed to press A so I can start a specific gimmick. However, since I'm doing a blind playthrough, I'm not entirely aware of it yet. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try and just, I'm gonna wing it. I'm going to go first. I'm gonna try and kill them with my pylon. Basically, did you notice that press the A button prompt?
Yeah, you need to collect the banner and I guess form the testudo.
Yes, is that the one where they're all kind of like an asterisk?
The turtles.
That's what you're supposed to do too. However, I wasn't quite aware of it at that point because the game didn't really say anything about it. It's just asterisk. So let's try and wing it. See if I make it.
Roll!
Check with speed dash.
And now I failed. Alright,
Marius is defeated.
Alright, let's try this again.
I love how the defeat menu gives you an option to upgrade your skills.
That's the thing, Jova. Every single time, this is one of those games that it fully integrates the menu with the game itself, in the sense that you're at any point in the game, you're always able to go back and do anything, even during combat.
Do you consider that good or bad?
I'm indifferent to it. Like it doesn't hurt the game in any way. It doesn't benefit it in any way. It's just a stylistic choice, if anything else. Oh, this will also give me a chance to show off the loading screen. Basically, it shows the area you're in, and basically just wait.
Oh, look! You see, guys, look at all this hard work the devs put into making this game look pretty.
Oh yeah, it does look pretty, especially for its time. Obviously, 6 years later, it does show a bit of its age, but for the time that this game came out, it looked pretty damn good.
I love how this
rolling
looks.
around at the speed of
Again, this was back when Microsoft was actually.
Oh my God, he's doing it! He's doing it! I love how they immediately stop shooting arrows when you get close enough.
Yeah, well, again, this was back when Microsoft was actually willing to, release a fucking AAA game.
Yeah.
Anyway, alright, let's continue.
Guys, should we maybe stop?
Let me remind everybody, I was supposed to do the thing that Tail said. And there you go, I noticed that I reached the checkpoint, but I died before, but now I'm gonna die. Basically, the game now glitched, because...
what just happened?
Basically, I was not supposed to reach this place without the thing that doesn't... However, Joe, because the game registered the checkpoint, now I'm gonna spawn after that section with all the enemies already dead. I swear to you, that was accidental. I didn't do this on purpose. I swear.
Guys,
see?
Guys,
there you go. Hey, I'm fine. Everything's fine. There you go. Everybody's.
And that is how Marius defeated the gods. Sorry, dudes. Yeah.
Guys, I got it. The goddess brought him back to life. It was like, okay, I'll give you an easy mode. I'll kill everyone in your way.
I swear, everybody, I did not do that on purpose. I genuinely did not know you could do that.
You know what I liked even better, Pedro? You know that part where you were slaughtering that one guy? All the archers were holding their bows, but not one took a fire. It's like, hey guys, do you think maybe we should stop them from killing one of us? No? Okay, let's just let them do it, like...
Simple beta testing, guys, come on.
Yeah, it's definitely embarrassing when you do something that the game devs didn't expect you to do, and it really shows that they didn't test it.
No, I'm guessing if they did, no one actually managed to try that.
Which, you'd think that they would test for that sort of stuff, since that's kind of one of the more obvious things to try, since that dodge roll is pretty good at dodging stuff.
That's the thing, Joe. The game says it is, but I don't find it particularly reliable.
Well, I mean, okay. The fact that you were able to use it to get up to them that close does show that it is capable of being abused.
It is capable, but I would say it's not as abusable as you're making it out to be. But go ahead.
Do you remember that famous Roman legend of the guy who kept rolling around during battle?
Oh, totally.
It
was called Sonicus.
Have I ever told you the story of Marius? It's not a tale that the Britons would want you to know.
Probably mostly because it's really boring. Yeah, this is one of the more, probably one of the most tedious sections, even by this game standards, because the only thing you have to do for the main gate defense is to just go back and do all the things. It basically just keep killing all the archers, and the game shows you notice those eagle icons in the left.
Hey, this guy is different. He has a helmet.
Oh my God, Dwibs, write that down. There's someone different.
Well, a hornet helmet, which is anachronistically inaccurate.
Okay, how many of these guys have I killed by this point?
Oh my God. I mean, yes. I mean, technically all the enemies get copied, but this guy in particular seems to get copied the most, to the point where they just didn't care.
He's the favorite one of the developers' code. But anyway,
kick that guy off the ledge.
I'm actually gonna do that in a bit. I think if I remember, there's one of them.
No, stab. Oh my God, he didn't fall off.
But yeah, like I was saying, what you have to do is notice how those eagle icons show up. That tells you which specific enemies you're supposed to kill, meaning the archers. You have to keep killing all the archers that show up, so that the main gate defense is going. So as long as you keep killing the archers, and the game will always warn you by having those eagle icons point to you where they are. As long as you keep killing the archers, you'll be.
Remind me, does the game allow you to switch targets on the fly, or are you pretty much locked when you get to an enemy?
The game has one of those automatic targeting systems where, the moment, for example, let's say you're fighting one enemy. If you get away from one enemy and get close to another one, Marius will now start targeting that one enemy. It's one of those automatic things.
It does seem like that. Okay, on paper
it works
that
pretty well, to be honest. I don't have a problem with it. It works rather well.
On paper, that does seem like a good. Oh my God, I think that's a different looking enemy.
Because he has a hood.
Yeah, they basically took an existing enemy and put a hood on him. Go ahead.
I think that sort of targeting system. I definitely get the. What was that?
Actually, no, Jova, it's the barbarian leader model.
Oh my God, it is, except now not a boss. So, okay, so let's do a little checklist here. So this guy in the future is going to be considered a boss, but here, he's just another mook. Even though he was kind of treated just like another mook in the future too. Since our first boss was technically during the present with Nero. Oh my God, that scream. He sounded like a girl there.
Another one.
Oh my God, I will avenge my cloned brother!
I was originally thinking of doing a fat mook countdown, but it got to a point where the countdown would fucking eat half of the screen. So
don't do a drinking game, guys.
Well, Pedro, you can just shrink it. You have to be like in Civil War, the movie, where the text goes over the whole screen.
Seriously, what was up with that?
Editor.
I mean, the Russos never did that again, so...
Editor.
Thank goodness.
It's the editor's job to do that, so he's the one who fucked up.
Well, no, the Russos have to tell him to do that, because they're the directors.
Anyway.
Whatever.
Well, remember, the directors are in the post-production phase, so they're still overseeing what gets done. But anyway.
Well, unless...
What the hell is this?
The idea was to destroy the tower, I guess.
Yeah, but they
Those
destroyed it
chains?
by making something come down the
the
steps.
chains, right, you need to destroy the chains.
Yeah, so the
So the fleet to pass.
Well, what's left of the ships anyway.
That's the thing, Joe. I'm not even kidding you. The plot is so hard to care about that sometimes I kind of doze off.
So right, yeah, he was helping them take down the tower
Marius,
so
what are
that
you
they can
doing?
get through.
Marius?
Marius?
No.
What? How did that even?
Fucking hell.
Hold on,
Okay.
guys. Now we're gonna get Braveheart style of speech.
Attention, lads!
Lads.
That's British.
Dude, you're a legionary. You're not a centurion. You might wanna, whatever.
Not just that, you're not British.
I know, right? I was
You're
seriously.
sending confusing messages.
You're supposed to be Italian. Like, last I checked, Italians don't use the term lads like that
No.
often.
Sir, our boats are getting destroyed.
Hold on,
Not
hold
just
on.
that,
That's funny.
you're doing a parallel
Oh,
to the...
oh, that's funny.
Ooh, oh.
Oh! Oh my
Not
god.
just that, they did a parallel to the Normandy landing.
But they're on a boat. They can't move unless you want them to drop into the sea.
All right, everybody. In the next part, we keep killing more fat British people.
Sorry, Luis.
So I'm fucked. I'm fucked.
It's the thing, Teo. I don't understand that. Okay, yes, all the mooks are reused, but that, like Jova said, that one mook is the one that gets rehashed the most. It's weird. Why that specific mook? Like, they didn't even try like a balance of the rehashing or anything. No, that specific mook clearly got preferential treatment. It's so weird.
Alright, then see ya.
See ya.
See ya.